So yeah, who are you, and or how would you describe yourself?
Okay, my name's Archie Crampton, and I am the technical director at Inkforge Studios. Um, Essentially, I kind of am the producer role for the game. It's kind of a
Mhm.
lot of the outside part of the game, organizing where we're going, what we're doing, what events we're doing. And but in terms of actual development, it's myself and another director. We're both the in-engine kind of technicians of the game.
And who's that other director?
So that's Tom Hunt. He's
Tom.
the
Tom,
creative
yeah.
director and the founder.
Awesome, yeah. So what's your background like? How did you get to where you are now?
So I left school, sixth form in 2021, it'll be,
Hmm.
and then took a gap year before I came to university. And I worked in QA, quality assurance. So I
Mm.
worked QAing for games for about a year and a half, and I go back every summer to go work on different projects,
Hmm.
and kind of climbed the corporate ladder, as you say,
Oh
and
yeah.
became a lead there and a project manager pretty soon on. And so I was a lead for I'm trying to think which projects I can actually say. Beat Saber, I was a lead on
Oh
for a few
wow, I love
times.
Beat Saber.
I'm in the credits of that one, so that's quite a proud
Amazing.
credit. The last Clockwinder, which is another VR game, which kind of is Studio Ghibli inspired.
Yeah.
And then quite a few AAA games that obviously NDAs I can't talk about, but
Yeah.
yeah, some big projects I've been a part of. So that's
So
kind of my background.
before you even
Yeah,
got to university, you had already got that experience and that
yeah.
that gap year. So how would you did that help quite a bit before you took a leap into anything else?
Yeah, no, I think growing kind of personal development wise, taking a gap year was such a great experience, especially because going to university to study games, then being able to work in the industry for a year and a half before even going to university and knowing, the tools that I was learning as I turn up to classes, it was, yeah, kind of an invaluable asset to me.
Mm. So what got you into games in the first place? Why did you choose that as like a career path?
Well, it was during lockdown. My original career path was like PE teaching.
Oh.
Big football person, big sport person. I've
Uh-huh.
been a football coach, fully qualified since I was about 13. Did all my football coaching badges. Was properly getting into it, and then over lockdown, couldn't really play sport. Kind of fell back into the love with video games, and yeah, it was The Last of Us was. I
Yeah.
finally got around to playing it during lockdown for the first time, and was kind of just enthralled by the entire game, and yeah, that quickly changed my career path. So.
Wow. Yeah, so that was the first time we played The Last of Us. That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
was one of the first games that got
2020
me into
it
it.
would have
Yeah.
been.
Just
Yeah, I
like the
literally played it
story.
a couple of weeks before part two came out because I saw part two was coming out, heard all the hype. I thought, you know what, I never played it. Let me go back and play The
Yeah.
Last of Us. And yeah, I was just completely obsessed.
And now with the show as well, it's like reached such a massive audience. It's insane.
Yeah,
And some people
exactly.
from only watching the show now going back to play the games. So I wonder how many more people are getting into
Yeah.
games very similarly. Yeah. Um. So what is the game about? What is the game that you guys are working on at the minute, and what is it about?
Okay. So I'll Be Brave Tomorrow is about escapism. That's our central theme of the game. You play as a
Hmm.
sick child called Robin who has to find escapism through a SNES-inspired platformer. Um, so the main theme of the game is to show that video games are a great form of escapism for kids going through hard times
Hmm.
and adults going through hard times. And that's kind of the theme we want to explore in the game.
Yeah, that's the key for all games. I think everyone gets into it. Just a little bit of a relief from whatever is going on outside. Um,
Yeah.
so how did you guys come up with it then? Like, what was the
So
first
we had a few kind
conceptualization?
of conceptual ideas. So originally, the creative director Tom, he came to me with five different game ideas, and all of them were varying in ability and how good they actually were and how reasonable they were to make. So originally it was just a team of me and him,
Hmm.
and he pitched a game called Project Galaxy, and that was about nostalgia, about someone going back and playing an older SNES game that they had, nostalgia for as a child. And it was a mixture of that plus a novel called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Hmm.
Um, the story of Sam and Sadie, how they meet in a hospital in that book, and they kind of form a friendship over Mario, is kind of what I wanted to make a game about. So we
Hmm.
mix these two ideas of blending a 3D world with a 2D platformer, and that kind of formed the idea of escaping into the 2D platformer when something's happening in the 3D world. Um, And then from that, we spoke to Great Ormond Street because
Mm.
Tom has been a patient there since he was. We've been telling people it was 3 months, but his mum actually told us a couple of days ago he was there since he was a week old.
Wow.
So he's been at
Yeah, because
Great
he
Ormond
had
Street
a
since he was,
cleft palate, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, cleft lip and a cleft palate. And so he's been there since, yeah, literally he was a baby. We kind of decided to contact them and get involved with them in partnership with them. So yeah,
Yeah, I think that's fantastic because it's
that's
that fifty
how it
percent of
works.
revenue that you'll earn on the game is going to go towards that charity. So I think that's a
Yeah,
great idea as well. So what's it been like working with that charity?
honestly, they're amazing. Never like being there before. It was 2 days before WASD, or maybe the day before. Myself and the 3D artist Ollie, we went and had a tour around the facilities, and it's just an unbelievable place. I think it was even the small details they had around the hospital. Of they used different chemicals compared to a regular hospital to make the smells different, and
Hmm.
it was a very just the minor details that we didn't ever think of. We're trying to add in the game to try and replicate what they're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just such an amazing place.
Yeah, very thoughtful for children. Is it mainly a children's hospital or is it for everyone?
No, just a children's hospital. So
Hmm.
once I think they do up to 21, and then you have to move on from there. But
Hmm.
yeah, mainly children. So
Hmm. So you mentioned the game is, yeah, so it's 2D and 3D. So
yes.
what's like the fun elements of that game?
So we've got the game split as a 60% 3D and 40% 2D game.
Hmm.
So 2D is a straight SNES inspired platformer. We kind of quite boringly say to people it's something you have played before, and that is very intentional. Let's be honest, platformers are a very saturated market. We're not trying to,
Yeah.
change the wheel here. We understand that everyone's played a platformer, and we want you to know the platformer experience.
Hmm.
But it's the 3D which is our more sentimental and narrative section that we're trying to tell the story through.
Mm.
Um, but as well in the 3D, we've kind of described it as the it takes two approach. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so in every 3D section, we want to have a different mini game that the player can play and different
Mm.
things around the room that can keep them interested.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the mini games when I was playing it because it's like it's very different from like the platforming elements. But what I also
Yeah.
really enjoyed the 2D as well because I thought maybe you'll going for that as like the majority, but that itself felt really robust and fun. And then yeah, you come out and it's like, oh yeah, back to reality, but you're still within the game, and so that's
Yeah.
where you branch the story from. So who is the game for? So who would you say you're targeting for this kind of game?
We have had a bit of a struggle with this. It's always been quite a hard question to answer. I think we've kind of lied on the fact that we have almost a split demographic of kids that are almost going to hospital to a place like Great Ormond Street. It would be quite a nice experience for them to experience the hospital life before going there and kind of recontextualizing a hospital environment virtually. It was
Hmm.
something we never really thought about during development, but since working with Great Ormond Street, it's actually become quite an important factor for us. However, we also understand the Steam market isn't made for kids per se. Um, you think realistically, you have to be 13 to create a Steam account, so
Hmm. That's
your
true.
target demographics already above 13. So we've also kind of decided more of the 30 age bracket parents is kind of a great demographic for us. So
Hmm.
it'll be people that enjoy narrative games, don't have a lot of time to play video games because it'll be a short experience, and have
Hmm.
a bit of nostalgia for SNES. That's
Yeah.
kind of our three like aims of what we want people to enjoy for the game.
And then where did the inspiration come from? Because we've talked about, yeah, Tom's cleft lip and things. So what else has like inspired the game?
So yeah, in terms of video games, the big ones for myself was Before Your Eyes and Edith Finch. Them two
Hmm.
are
Oh
just,
yeah,
yeah, I have a little soft spot for
fantastic.
both games. So both just amazing games. The 2D is almost completely inspired by Yoshi's Island.
Mm.
The original tile maps we made were very much too similar, and we've had to redo them, so we're not actually copying Yoshi's Island. But yeah, they're probably our biggest game inspirations. And then yeah, like I said, the novel Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. That's
Mm.
probably the big inspiration.
Brilliant. So throughout development, what would you say the hardest part has been? Because you're still in the midst of it at the minute, but
Yeah.
up until this point, I suppose, what's been the hardest part?
Oh, to be fair, I'll be quite honest. Development has been very smooth sailing. We haven't had any major issues so far, but it's the things outside development that's been the hardest. So growing a social media presence and marketing the game and
Mm,
going to these events and trying to figure out where we need to spend our money from funding. And it's the business side which has definitely been the harder side, and that's the section that I'm trying to take a bit more of a initiative on.
mm.
Because development, I've kind of slowly realized that it doesn't matter how good the game is, if it's not marketed correctly or marketed well, no one will play it, and it doesn't matter if it's an amazing game.
Do you have any tips
So
for marketing in that regard?
I would like some tips depending on good ideas, but for us, I think we've learned consistency has been the only thing that's kind of kept it going. We try and do so for every platform. We do LinkedIn and Instagram, maybe 2 posts a week on both.
Hmm.
LinkedIn, we grow not only for the business to sell, but for us as people to kind of connect to different people in the industry and develop that if indie doesn't work out, we can get jobs in the future.
Hmm.
And then for our main social media, it's short form content. So TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube
Mm,
Shorts. You make
brilliant.
one for one of the platforms and you upload it across all three.
Hmm.
Kind of, we're doing that at least one a day, hopefully try and do 2 a day if possible, but sometimes the ideas aren't always great.
Yeah,
So
because you
yeah,
guys have a Discord server as well, don't you?
yes, yeah,
So how
yeah,
could people
that.
join that server if they wanted to?
There's a link on the Steam page. It's literally the top thing on the Steam page. We have a little banner, and you can just click on that and just join straight through there.
Hmm. And then have you had much responses from the Kickstarter as well? Because I think that's a great idea that you guys have started.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter we had, I believe it was 141 backers,
Brilliant. Hmm.
and then just over £5,000 raised, which was just over our target, which was very exciting.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I think we were about £500 short the day of it ending, and then yeah, literally the last day it just completely grew again. So
Wow. That's
it
good.
was,
Great responses. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
no, it was really good.
so in terms of like software and tools and things, so what are you using to actually create the game? What engine and modeling software and such?
So it's made in Unity, um,
Hmm.
full game made in Unity. Specifically, I'd like to say the Unity plugin called Fungus is by far the best tool I could ever recommend. Um, because myself and Tom are both writers, we're
Mm.
not programmers at all. We're learning to program at the minute. We both suck. So using Fungus to visual scripts, from narrative to even scene transitions, and our save data is all through Fungus.
Hmm.
It's yeah, like an invaluable asset. In terms of art wise, I know A Sprite is used for the pixel art.
Hmm.
That's really good. It's really simple. And then I think Ollie, our 3D artist, just used Blender. I think Blender's his main
Hmm.
tool. I think he's
Brilliant. Yeah.
proficient in all of them, but yeah, Blender I think he finds the easiest.
Yeah, because I was looking through some of the trailers. I spotted, I think, working in Maya, but then I suppose one, others, and plus Blender is up and coming. It's like so quickly now.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so what are you most proud about so far throughout development?
I think the partnership with Great Ormond Street has been my most like proud part. For people that don't care about video games or know about video games, just mentioning Great Ormond Street Hospital already puts a bit of like it solidifies us as an actual product, and it puts a bit more representation on the name.
Yeah,
Because if not, then it's just essentially a student project. But with the name tied to it, it does give it an aura of like legitimacy. I
yeah,
think, yeah, it's kind of essential for us.
gives you meaning, and I see when you talk about it as well, you got a smile on your face as well. So you really are proud of it. And I think that there's
Yeah,
something to be proud of because it's got that meaning behind it, as well as the
yeah,
meaning for Tom personally. Um,
exactly.
yeah. So how long have you been working on it so far, up until this point?
So the demo we showed at WASD was from October to December. So that was about 2.5 month period.
Hmm.
And then that is the current demo that's on Steam right now. So from there, it's been 8 months.
Hmm.
And then from January to now, we haven't shown anyone any new parts of
Ooh.
gameplay yet. We've
Uh-huh.
kept the last 5 months silent because Steam Next Fest is coming up. I think it's June 10th, actually, so a
Oh yeah,
month exactly today.
yeah.
So we're planning to release a full new demo for Steam Next Fest with new tile maps, new 3D worlds, new mini
Hmm.
games, kind of revamp the entire game so it's a lot prettier, a lot more functional. So yeah.
Hmm. And then you'll be working on it throughout your final year as well.
No, so
Oh.
it's getting released in September.
Oh,
So
brilliant. Yeah, because when I spoke to you guys at WASD, yeah, you said you worked with the uni to say this could be your final project. But yeah, so now September is the release date because I
yeah,
couldn't
no,
get that out
so
of you before. Yeah, that's good.
it is. We've confirmed. We love Great Ormond Street, but they've shoved us the release date of. They have a big fundraiser in September for their new children's cancer centre, and that's what
Hmm.
we're raising money for as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we've kind of been given a hard deadline of September.
Mm. Okay, wow. And so, yeah, you spoke about Kickstarter a little bit for funding, but
Yeah.
how else have you managed to get a bit of funding for this game?
So yeah, Kickstarter is the main one. We also got funding through Falmouth University.
Hmm.
They ran a like Dragon's Den competition,
Hmm.
and it was a very last minute thing that we got told about. Quickly chucked a nice PowerPoint together, and I think it was just the pitch we had was a very confident pitch. It was myself and Tom giving the pitch. I'm I'd like to say I'm quite a confident person.
Hmm.
I'm quite happy to talk in front of people. So I think it was a very nice pitch that yeah they appreciated and they liked the whole ethos of the game.
Hmm.
But also to Falmouth we pitched the student publishing aspect of the company, which I think is very much in their interest because we can keep publishing Falmouth made games and promoting the university through that way. So
Hmm. It could
yeah,
be sort of yeah their mascot for their games department there. I suppose I remember you guys
yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Yeah. So although you're getting quite there now, like September's not too far away, but if you were to, scrap it and start fresh with the same idea, would you do anything different?
I would make the hierarchies in Unity to be a lot nicer.
More
That would be
organized, yeah.
yeah, organization would be a big one. I would also change the name and put a bit more effort in the name. I love our name. I'll be brave tomorrow.
Hmm.
Because I will take credit of the name that I came up with it when we were sat in a pub together, and I
Hmm.
love the name. However, we didn't research it enough other than just saying it together in a group
Hmm.
because there's a book called Tomorrow I'll Be Brave. And so
Uh,
we're already fighting against Google SEO to beat that.
hmm.
And if you search I'll Be Brave Tomorrow, we do beat the book. However, 2 pages down or 2 rows down, it's there again.
Yeah.
So we're already, fighting a losing battle from day one. So that was a bit of a reckless decision from us. But luckily, because we're selling on a marketplace like Steam, it doesn't affect us too badly. It's only really Google which
Yeah.
affects the SEO.
The
But yeah,
mediums are quite different, yeah. So you are within your right, but yeah, you want
yeah,
that distinction just to be separate, yeah. Um,
exactly.
so who's helped create the game? So like the team, but is there anyone else as well?
Yeah, so we have a core team of 5. So it's myself and Tom are the 2 in-engine developers, and then we have a 3D art lead, a 2D art lead, and then a studio manager who also does 2D backgrounds and things like that as well.
Hmm.
And then alongside that, we have some freelance people. So we have currently 3 freelance artists who are doing a bunch of different 2D stuff that I can't say yet because it's not in the game, but it will be in soon. Some very cool mini games they're making.
Yeah.
And then we have a freelance 3D artist because we just need more models. And then we have a music guy who's Tom's like childhood best friend.
Hmm.
And essentially, he's just creating a bunch of different music tracks for the game, just so he can put his music out there, which is really
Hmm.
nice for us. And then because of my experience in QA, quite a few of my friends here I've trained up as QA testers, and we have a small close knit QA team that are constantly working on it with us.
Brilliant. Yeah, you're like sharing your inner knowledge. That's good.
Yeah,
So what kind of things do you look for in like an ideal team member then?
I think for us it's never about ability of someone because if it doesn't matter if they're an amazing programmer or an amazing artist, if they're hard to work with, that will be a lot more detrimental to the team.
Hmm.
We kind of just want a cohesive team that gets along. They don't have to be friends. Everyone that's on our team, a lot of people have been friends before, but a lot of people have been kind of just mutual acquaintances through people, and then
Hmm.
have joined the team and now since we're all friends. But for us, it's mainly just work ethic and do you reply to messages?
Yeah.
That's a big one. People who don't update us is yeah, kind of hell. So we need to make sure someone will actually reply.
Yeah, so the big things, yeah, easy to work with and good communication. Those are the two
Yeah.
big ones. Very good, yeah. And are you all based in Falmouth, or are you a little bit more scattered?
So the majority of the team's based in Falmouth, especially during term time, and then our music person is London. I
Hmm.
think that's kind of it. Yeah, I think the majority is Falmouth.
Yeah, and so the music person will just send it to you over the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to do nowadays. Um, but yeah, so when you're like looking for inspiration, do you have like any game dev idols that you look to? Like people
Um,
say Hideo Kojima and things like that. But is there anyone that you find personally inspirational?
I think for me, so yeah, the posters behind it's probably Neil Druckmann, I guess, would
Brilliant.
be the
Yeah.
big inspiration. Yeah, I think hearing his story, I listened to a podcast the other day about him coming into the industry, and as an American immigrant and his whole childhood backstory. Yeah, it was a very inspirational story to hear.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just, yeah, it was an instant boost to development for me because I just wanted to have the work ethic that he does. So
Yeah. Was
yeah,
that the one that he did with Logic, the podcast?
yes,
Yeah, I watched that as well. That was fantastic. I didn't know all that backstory because he lived in Israel for years in a small community and then moved over
yeah,
to Miami, not speaking a word of English. And then he wanted to be a comic book writer and then somehow found his way into games that way.
yeah,
Brilliant, yeah.
exactly.
It's amazing that you looked into that. So yeah, because you are quite in a good position at the minute. You're released, a few games already, working on your third. So what advice would you have to someone just starting uni now, like an 18-year-old, or someone that?
Mm.
Well, what advice would you want yourself as well at that age?
I think even just a year gap between first year and second year, it was first year I coasted through, did very well and everything. Um, but it was a sense of, yeah, as most people do at university, coasted through and had a bit more of a fun time, let's say.
Hmm.
But a second year, I still found that there wasn't enough to do. Yeah, that was originally why we started Inkforge Studios, was one, to grow our portfolios, but two, we had a lot of free time that
Hmm.
we were wasting. You could say wasting, you could say, just enjoying life, but we kind of wanted to put a bit more effort into something that would help us in the future.
Hmm.
So I think the advice I've been giving quite a few people is to just do. It's not a very good advice, I think, but it
Yeah.
was something that I kind of got forced in, especially just parents' ethos of just going to do something. So that's why once I left school, I got into the QA job because my mum said that if I want to go into games, I need to get a job in games now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do anything in the gap year. I'd have to just get, a job at Tesco's. So
Hmm.
found a QA job, quickly got into it, and yeah, worked my way out there. So I think just doing and just putting things out there. Places like Itch is always great, but
Hmm.
I think people don't realize how easy it is to put a game on Steam. I think it's quite a scary thing when you think about it, but in reality, we're quite transparent because you can just search this information. It's £72 and an hour of time to put it on
Yeah.
Steam. It's not a very complicated task. So
Yeah.
yeah, just putting games on Steam.
Brilliant. And so yeah, you found just actually like doing it every day has helped to get you where you are now. And it's
Yeah,
interesting that you brought up as well about because in between, you'll have like a few modules per semester. I'm not sure quite how it works at Falmouth, but and you still have that free time. You're expected to work on your modules, get it in, but it's those that actually put extra work in, like yourselves, that one get a better portfolio, and two give yourself the experience to have a better chance of getting into industry. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, so I think that's great advice. A lot of our students probably benefit from hearing that because I'm sure a lot of them would say, "Oh, all our time's taken up on working," but then they go home and play 12 hours of Overwatch or something like that. Whereas if they
yeah.
put, even just 6 hours of work into an extracurricular project, they'll be far more better off a year from now. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. This has been great. Just got
Yeah,
one
no
last
worries.
question. What's next?
What's next? So yeah, release for this in September. Um, Currently speaking to many publishers to try and put the game on consoles. Switch is the big one that we want to do.
Hmm.
That is a whole other can of worms
Yeah.
that I was not ready for. So that's been exciting, but yeah, very nerve-wracking. But after that, it's, yeah, third year project. and that we're planning to try and do more of a 2-year development cycle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it'll be about a 11th month cycle for the game to be, conceptualized and then finished.
Mm-hmm.
And we're aiming for around a 5 to 7 hour product. And it's doable, and we're getting there, but it is a lot. So I think next year, taking almost a year to create a very nice demo of the game and putting that as our, degree, that's our final year project, and then spending another year finishing it is the plan from there.
Amazing. Yeah. So by the time you finish with your degree, you'll have like 3.5 and then almost basically 4 games into your belt by that point. Yeah, I look
Yeah.
forward to it. So I'll definitely be buying this in September. I've already got it on my wish list.
Oh,
But yeah,
perfect.
thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Archie. Anyway, this
Yeah,
has
no
been great.
worries.